So you may remember in a recent video I had shown you how to clean a terminal on a battery that was corroded. That was on my wife's 2016 Hyundai Santa Fe. Well, that actually helped for quite a while. Actually, it was having difficulty starting. Looking at that terminal, I thought, well, there's probably a bad connection because of the corrosion on the negative terminal. So I cleaned all that up, and that actually did help for a while. But I've noticed, especially as temperatures have been dipping down and getting cold again, that the car has been, it's been a hard crank to get things going. Now, after 2 or 3 even difficult cranks or slow cranks, the car does start. So it's not, left us walking anywhere or anything like that yet. But it's pretty obvious that the battery is probably weaker than it should be. So I thought about going out and buying one of those little tools that you can clamp onto your battery, and it tests the battery and tells you, if it needs to be replaced or not, depending on what kind of amperage it might have for cold cranking amps and various other diagnostic tests that the little machine will run. However, I wasn't interested in spending $60 and then possibly having to buy a $200 battery on top of that. So it dawned on me that, I can test this actually by testing voltage drop on the battery at crank, and I can do that with my multimeter, which I already own, and I love using the thing, so I thought, why not? So in the video I'm about to show you, the basic setup is this, in case it's unclear on that video. You put the red lead on the positive and you put the black lead on the negative. That's from the multimeter. I actually connected negative first and then positive. And you get a reading, and it will be probably 12 or a little more than 12 volts, which is a fairly normal sort of voltage to have on the battery. Then you'll want to go into the automobile. You'll want to turn on the headlights or some sort of load to kind of get rid of surface charge on the battery, so you get a kind of a true test on it. And then you'll want to crank, and it's usually a 2-person operation, maybe someone in the car cranking while you're watching the multimeter. In this case, I actually set my camera up and was able to record it. And you'll see that it drops below a minimum threshold. And that minimum threshold, most people say, I've heard a kind of a range from, anything below 11, anything below 10, anything below 9. Well, my battery actually drops well below 11, 10, and 9, and so you'll see that it's pretty definitive that this battery needs to be replaced. The battery is 6 years old in the vehicle, so I'm not surprised, and this is its 3rd winter in Canada, so it's actually done pretty well and held up pretty well. But it's been pretty cold this winter, and we've got a lot more snow than we have had in the first 2 since we've moved here. So yeah, I think this 6-year-old battery is about kaput. Let me show you the footage, and then we'll close up after that. All right, so here's the setup. Got the multimeter on. DC voltage. It's reading right now 12.35. Sorry about the glare. The setup on the battery is I've got the black lead or probe stuck into the negative side of the battery, terminal of the battery, and I got the red one into the positive terminal of the battery. So no problem here, but let's see what it does when we crank it. Alright, one thing you gotta do is before you crank it and test it is you need to turn on headlights or something before you crank it so that it clears the surface charge on the battery, which I've just done. So let's see what we get here. Well, I hope you were able to see that, but the voltage, in case you didn't see it, the voltage drop on the battery was all the way down to 7.29 volts. That's pretty low. So that tells me that this battery is probably kaput. It's on its last leg. I'm going to need to go to my local automotive store, and I'm going to need to find the battery that is actually specific to that particular vehicle. Specific insofar as there's a group number, a kind of battery that goes in this particular kind of vehicle. I think it's a 124 or something like that. I'll superimpose it on the screen here for you so you can see it, but that'll be something that if you're having to replace a battery in your own car, you want to make sure and tell them what your make and model are and any kind of extra little things that your vehicle may have, so that, in fact, you may even just give them the VIN number and they'll be able to look up and see exactly what your vehicle is and exactly what kind of battery you need for it. But it sounds like I'm going to need to go pony up, pay some cash to the local automotive store. I looked at the price today and just shy of $200 Canadian for that battery. So it's better than having paid $60 for the tool to test it and then another $200 on top of that, sort of make that cost a little bit greater than it should be. So I'm glad I was able to use my multimeter to make this test and show that I do need the new battery. So if I get the new battery and decide that I want to bring you along in the replacement, I'll do that, perhaps in a future video. But honestly, pulling an old battery out and putting a new one in is not that difficult or challenging of a job. Pretty easy to do, in fact. But we'll see. I may do it. With that in mind, we'll see you on the next one.